This is a video on how to prepare the finished meals of Keto Chow. Going off the powder, whether it's you're mixing it yourself or buying it from me. I've got a couple of different methods to show you how to mix a single meal, how to mix stuff in a blender, especially using ice, and how to mix up, well, 6 meals at a time if you are feeding a couple people. So to start off with, I'm going to do a single meal. This is actually the second take. I already measured the MCT oil and the heavy cream, so it's just like I'm on a cooking show. I've got everything prepped, well, except not really. The MCT oil, now I'm using MCT oil on mine. When you're very first starting out doing Keto Chow, the MCT oil may be a little bit difficult for your body to handle. It tends to kind of lubricate things and give you the runs if you have too much of it at the beginning. So if you're having any sort of problems, eliminate the MCT oil and just use more heavy cream. There's additional information about that on the the written preparation instructions on my site. Anyway, so I've got 13 milliliters of MCT oil in here, and now I've got 50 milliliters of heavy cream. I'm just doing the 50 milliliters because, well, the math is easier, but you can use more heavy cream in order to reach 2,000 calories a day, or you can use less to get less calories a day. And then you can have some bacon on the side or something like that. It's really whatever you personally prefer. It's pretty flexible that way. So 50 milliliters of heavy cream. Just going to dump that into here. And this time I'm just making a single meal of Keto Chow. So the reason why I'm putting in the heavy cream and the oil first is because it mixes better if you do that. If you put in the powder first and then dump it in the water and then all that other stuff, it tends to get stuck in the bottom and not mix up properly. This way it just mixes really well. So I've got that. I'm going to add a little bit of water and dump it all over the floor. Nice. Now, you can mix up Keto Chow in either a bigger blender bottle or a smaller one. It's really up to you. I like the smaller ones because they fit better in my hand. The bigger ones are nicer if you like it a little bit thinner. I mix mine up to be, it's 16 ounces. It's right around 500 milliliters. I like the thickness and consistency doing it that way. So it also makes the math easier because if I'm doing 2, it's 32 ounces, that sort of thing. Anyway, I added a little bit of water. Now I'm going to add the powder. And I have to weigh that. Now, the reason that you have to weigh Keto Chow is because the different flavors have a different density. So some equal, well, 50 grams is right around a half cup. Some it's a little more, some it's a little less. The only way to actually be sure and to know you're getting exactly what you're supposed to is to weigh it. So it's kind of a little bit of a hassle. You have to go find the scale, but they sell them on Amazon. I bought my first one from Harbor Freight, super cheap. This just happens to be a bigger one because, well, I like how easy it is to read. But anyway, so I'm going to weigh out 50 grams. It's a little bit too much. Okay, 50 grams. I'll pop that in here and then shake it up. What color lid do I want? Blue. Now you have to mix this up pretty quickly because the protein powder and all the other stuff that's in there, if you just get it a little bit wet, it turns into this really sticky paste that will never dissolve. So you've got just a couple seconds really to get it mixed, the preliminary mixing. Now I'm going to set that over to the side. In about 5 minutes or so, I need to come back and shake this again. The reason for that is the psyllium husk, and, well, specifically the psyllium husk, it hydrates, and it takes a little while for it to do that. And as it's hydrating, it thickens up. If you were to just leave this there now, you would start hydrating, except that the psyllium husk is at the bottom, and it'll form this nice little clumpy gel, which is actually pretty gross. So you just have to shake it a second time. That's all you have to do to avoid that. Anyway, so that's a single meal. Now I'm going to make 2 meals in a blender. And I'm going to be using my hydro flasks. The hydro flasks are super awesome. Whenever I have to go somewhere that I won't have refrigeration handy, this is particularly nice when you're at, like, say, a work conference or something like that. You don't have a refrigerator, you stick a cold beverage, especially with ice, in one of the hydro flasks, and it will stay cold for days sometimes, at least hours. I've had it in my backpack kicking around for 18 hours and the stuff was still cold. So, but I'm going to use that because I'm going to make a Frosty. So, start off with, I'm going to put in the oil and cream. Now in this case, I'm making 2 meals. It's got a handy little light on the side, 32 ounces, because I know that I like the 16 ounce. So I need 26 milliliters of MCT because I'm making 2. And I need 100 milliliters of heavy cream because I'm making 2. I would use this, but this one only goes up to 60 milliliters. I just happen to have another shaker bottle that has 100 milliliters on it. So I'm going to use that to measure out the heavy cream this time. Okay. Dump that in here. This is really handy to do because I'm not having to get another, well, if all I'm doing is this, I don't have to get another measuring cup. Dirty. Okay. Now, I'm going to add some ice. I forgot to do this earlier, so I'm going to have to grab it out of the freezer. Hold on a second. Okay. I'm going to get it, I really like it thick, so I'm going to get it kind of close to the 32 ounce line. Throw in some water. Okay, now we're going to add the protein powder. Since I'm doing 2 of them, zero my scale, I have to do 100 grams. See, super easy math. Okay, so I'll drop that in here and I'm going to use the little smoothie button. And yeah. Put on the lid. Oh, that's right. Ooh, Keto Chow dust. Don't breathe that. Yes, it blows. Okay. So now I've got my 2 hydro flasks. These are the 18 ounce ones. They're just about perfect for 2 meals. At least when you're mixing it up to be 16 ounces of Keto Chow. Let me grab a spoon. In case it's hard to get out. Because it's pretty thick. So, there's one. Now, if you have a big enough blender, you could make 3 of them for an entire day. The Blendtechs are kind of small. They don't hold very much. So this works really well. Now, I don't have to shake these ones again because the blender did it already. It's all taken care of. But I do still need to let these sit for 30 minutes is the minimum. And that's just to get rid of, at least I think there's a really strong salty taste as well as a kind of a vitamin taste if you try to drink it immediately. I mean, it won't kill you or anything, but I just don't like it. And so I recommend to people, leave it in the fridge for at least 30 minutes. It's best if you leave it overnight. I'm going to stick these in the fridge, even though they're in a insulated flask, just because then it stays colder better. But these will still be frosty 6 or 7 hours from now, even if they're just sitting out. I'll stick those out to the side. It's time to give this guy a shake. Perfect. That's ready to go in the fridge now too. And once again, 30 minutes minimum overnight is best. If you, let's say that you were mixing up in the morning and you were on your way out the door because you forgot to mix up your Keto Chow the night before, you could toss some ice into the blender bottle instead of some of the water. And that will cool it down quicker so that it will survive the trip until you get to a refrigerator. I actually do that quite a bit. But in this case, I'm going to stick it in the fridge and let it sit overnight. Okay, now we're on to mixing up 6 Keto Chows at a time. This came about because I was mixing like 6. My wife does Keto Chow as well. Not all the time, but 1 to 2 meals a day. And I was thinking, I was mixing up 6 or 7 of them. Like, if I had to do this for my entire family, this would get really tedious, doing the shaking all the time. So I just thought, well, how do you scale it? So I'm going to do it in a water pitcher. This is a gallon pitcher. It's got lines on the side. I like to do 6 at a time, 16 ounces, that's 3 quarts. But if I do it exactly 3 quarts, I don't know if there's something wrong with this water pitcher or what. 3 quarts does not end up being 6 16-ounce blender bottles. 3 liters is though. So I just drew a little line on the 3 liter mark. Anyway, so I'm going to measure out, it's 78 milliliters of MCT oil and 300 milliliters of heavy cream because I'm doing 6. So that's enough for 1 person to eat Keto Chow 3 meals a day for 2 days. So if you got a stopwatch handy, time me, see how long it takes to make food for 2 days. Okay, so I've got the MCT oil. This is one of the reasons why I really like using this for measuring, because I don't have any other measuring cups that go up to 300 milliliters. This does. And to measure 78, I just kind of eyeballed it. It's 3/4 of the way to 100. It's close enough. Okay, so I've got that. Now we're going to do, it's 300 grams of Keto Chow. If you're doing 50 milliliters of heavy cream, the amount of Keto Chow and heavy cream are exactly the same. But now you could weigh the heavy cream instead of using a measuring device. If you wanted to do that, you would have to measure it once at least and weigh how much that weighs, just to make sure that it's not some weird number and you're getting the right amount of stuff. Okay, so 300 grams of Keto Chow. I'm doing rich chocolate today. It's one of my favorites. Done it for 2 weeks straight at a time before. Okay, boom, right on. Okay, so 300 grams. Now I'm going to add some water to this, just to get kind of in the realm of the 3 liters. And now I'm going to mix this up, I'm going to be using a stick blender. I guess I should plug it in. You can get these just about anywhere. I bought this at Walmart for like 12 bucks or something like that. It makes mixing up in the pitcher work really well. And once again, you want to add some of the water in here just to get the powder up, because it's going to tend to stick to the sides a little. So you have to do that. And you have to, once again, mix it really quick before it gets a chance to thicken. So, here we go. Sometimes you end up with a clump and it's kind of like, put it down on there. Just kind of obliterate it. Now, I'm down a little bit, so I'm going to add water to bring it up to the level where I know I need it to be. Generally speaking, when you are using either a blender or an immersion blender, you don't have to shake it up. Sorry. You don't have to shake it up a second time because it's already done all the mixing it needs. So now I get my blender bottles, I'm going to line them up and fill them up. So 16 ounces. There. A little bit too much. The 16 ounces on this one is to the base of the threads. It's another reason I like the small ones. And the last one. A little bit left. Okay, perfect. I'm going to wash that out and you're done. Now, you want to make sure that you put the lids on this really well. I did the same thing with that one, but you always want to make sure you get a nice seal on it. You don't want to accidentally leave the lid open and then go to shake it up and get it all over yourself, because that really sucks. I've done it several times and usually happens when I'm at work. So anyway, so that's mixing up Keto Chow. You've got a single meal, you've got 2 meals in a blender with or without ice. I prefer with because I like Wendy's Frosties. And then you've got 6 meals at a time. You're only limited by how many blender bottles you have on hand when you do this. I've done as many as 18 at a time. It's enough for 3 days if you're eating 3 a day. It usually lasts me about 4 to 5 days, which is about on the outside range of how long you want to have the stuff in your fridge. Basically, you just treat it like milk once it is mixed up. You want to leave milk out on the counter, you want to stick it in the fridge. After a couple days it goes bad. Same thing with Keto Chow. Also, if your cream is bad before you start, that can cause problems. The only time I've ever actually had Keto Chow go bad was because my heavy cream was already bad. So anyway, that's mixing up Keto Chow.